Fred Durst.
Welcome to MojoPlays. And today, we're counting down our picks for the worst fighters that made you work for the misfortune of playing as them.
I am here to ask for your support in taking back our beloved city from crime and fear.
Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Hercule, Dragon Ball Z, Budokai series. Whether you know him as Hercule or Mr. Satan, it doesn't change the fact that he's one of the weakest characters across multiple Dragon Ball Z games. But when you have fighters that are essentially godlike in terms of power, that shouldn't really be a surprise. The method for unlocking him varies between games, but he's always been designated as the joke character. He has no powers, therefore having a lower damage output than most everyone else. He had some decent combos and special moves, even if they still highlighted his uselessness. However, with some of the most famous anime characters of all time as an option, we fail to see the appeal here.
Just a moment, please.
Hyena, the King of Fighters 2006. In so far his only playable appearance, Hyena annoys not only other characters with his antics, but also players with his clunky moveset. In the 2006 installment of King of Fighters, you can unlock him by beating the story mode 13 times. And the suitability of giving him the unlucky number is not lost on us. Despite having a couple decent special moves, Hyena uses an incredibly awkward technique that will feel clumsy in your hands. One of his super moves is also fairly easy to predict and counter. He trips over himself before landing a high damage kick. If Hyena's combatant throws him while he's performing this special, he's instantly KO'd.
Winner.
Deku, Fighters Mega Mix. Although most may not remember this Sega Saturn exclusive fighter, it still has a pretty poor unlockable character in Deku. The Mexican being in a Marachi outfit is just the type of borderline racism we'd expect from a late 90s game. But even still, he's just not an interesting fighter. His moveset is lifted entirely from one of the other characters. He isn't even an amalgamation character like other fighters of the time used to include. He's also just a bit weaker, which really only makes him a handicap for those that want it. All in all, Deku is just lazy. Dan Hibiki, Street Fighter series. When players think of joke characters in fighting games, it's likely Street Fighter's Dan is the first that comes to mind. And for good reason. Capcom literally created him as a joke in retaliation against Art of Fighting, an SNK fighter that ripped off Ken and Ryu. Regardless, Dan has long been a silly but expected inclusion, available to unlock in several games. His moveset is essentially a much less impressive version of Ken and Ryu's, with short-range attacks and measly Hadokens. That actually fits perfectly with his overconfident but cowardly persona. However, Dan has still managed to gather quite the following over the years. That doesn't mean we'll ever pick him though.
これも格闘家の定めだ。
はあ。始めます？
せめて一撃で倒してやるからな。
Pichu, Super Smash Bros. Melee. Echo Fighters have been a thing in Super Smash Bros. Since the beginning, but only in the second game did Nintendo think it would be a good idea to give one of them the ability to hurt themselves. In Melee, players can unlock Pichu either after playing 200 versus matches or by completing Event Match 37. Regardless of how you unlock the Pokemon, most of us had the same exact inclination after trying him out. Never again. Every electrical attack emitted from Pichu adds a small percentage of damage, constantly increasing your chance of dying even if no one's hitting you. Not only that, but Pichu is the teeniest of fighters, making it incredibly easy to launch him out the arena. William Bordon, Urban Range.
As you all know, the crime rate in our city continues to rise each year.
In this 3D beat-em-up story mode, you brawl your way through tons of enemies to reach the villain, corrupt Mayor William Bordon. But in multiplayer, Urban Reign is an arena fighter. There are a ton of characters throughout the story you can unlock here, including the big bad. But boy, is it not worth it. You can only get him by getting an S rank on every single stage, of which there are 100. But after all the effort, Bordon isn't any better than the rest of the characters. In fact, he's worse. Only his counters have the capability of dealing major damage. We'd be more forgiving if not for the absurd level of challenge in unlocking him. Roll. Marvel vs. Capcom 2, New Age of Heroes. With smooth but extremely quick-paced gameplay, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is one of those fighters that's easy to pick up but difficult to master. Most players can pull off awesome combos with many of the characters, but even the greenest of gamers should stay far away from Roll. Although she's Mega Man sis, she's clearly outmatched in every way. We're not usually one to judge a book by its cover, but Roll proves to be a slowpoke with poor range, minuscule damage output, and horrible combo potential compared to everyone else. Most players overly familiar with the roster consider her to be one of the worst fighters in any game, which is hard to argue against. Mocap, Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. Mortal Kombat has had many highs and lows when it comes to unlockable characters. Thankfully, the franchise's lowest point in those regards happened way back during the 6th generation of consoles. Mocap is a motion capture actor who was clearly designed to get a laugh. Mark he misses. But it isn't just the lame design. He has no distant fighting style himself, instead taking moves from several other characters. He also has no fatality, which means the most interesting thing about him is the aforementioned lame design. Deadly Alliance also made you work hard to unlock him, requiring you to complete every conquest mission with every character. It just wasn't worth it.
Wins.
Dr. Bosconovitch, Tekken 3. With a varied roster of powerful humans, animals, and more, surely someone out there wanted to play as an old man who constantly fell over. No, Namco? No one did? Dr. Bosconovitch has played a role in many Tekken plotlines, but rarely has he ever been playable. He was added as a hidden fighter in the 3rd entry, unlocked by beating the home version's beat-em-up mode, Tekken Force, 4 times. Like Mocap, Dr. B uses different moves compiled from other fighters. But worse, certain moves and combos will cause him to fall over on the ground due to his canonical scoliosis. If you pick him, be prepared to take on the sitting duck role fairly regularly. Fred Durst, WWF SmackDown, Just Bring It. While it was tempting to place the Limp Bizkit frontman's cameo from Fight Club at the top, we thought we'd pick a game that wasn't also utter garbage. It's not that we have anything in particular against Durst, it's just unfortunate that he was made into a terrible unlockable fighter twice. In this wrestling game, he's unlocked after beating 15 combatants as The Undertaker in the Slobber Knocker mode, which has a 10-minute time limit. Even though this game released during the height of his band's popularity, we still doubt any player at the time wouldn't have rather had the spot go to a legacy wrestler. Even worse, he's one of the weakest fighters on the roster. Did you go through the process of unlocking these characters? Which did you find to be the most disappointing? Let us know in the comments down below. And don't forget to check out these other great videos.
Meantime, I'll take on all you losers at once. Come and get it.
Check out these other great clips from MojoPlays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.